Welcome back to Stock Explorers. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into BlackSky Technology, Inc.
Oh, yeah.
Ticker symbol BKSY,
Yeah.
a company that's making waves in the world of space-based intelligence.
It's a fascinating space to be in right now,
It is.
with so much innovation happening.
Absolutely. And you requested this deep dive because you're particularly interested in what makes BlackSky stand out from the competition, especially with their Gen 3 satellites about to launch.
Right.
So we've got a stack of sources here,
Yep.
financial snapshots, company announcements, and even a transcript from their latest earnings call.
Let's try to unpack all that and extract those golden nuggets of insight.
All right, let's start with the basics. What does BlackSky actually do?
Sure.
Imagine a Google Maps that updates in real time
Okay.
with the ability to zoom in and analyze specific locations or events.
Right.
That's essentially what BlackSky offers.
They have their own constellation of satellites
Correct.
that constantly capture images of Earth, providing insights to both government and commercial clients.
So it's not just about pretty pictures from space.
Right.
It's about actionable intelligence.
Precisely. And what sets BlackSky apart is their speed and frequency of imaging.
Well-
We're talking about dawn to dusk coverage,
Wow.
with some of their satellites able to revisit the same spot up to 15 times a day.
15 times.
15 times a day.
That's incredible.
It is.
Most satellite imagery providers only offer static snapshots, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference when you're trying to monitor rapidly changing situations.
Oh, sure.
Think about tracking the movement of ships, monitoring construction progress, or even responding to natural disasters.
Absolutely.
So BlackSky is all about speed.
Mhm.
What else makes them unique?
Their AI-powered analysis is a major differentiator.
Like-
They've developed a platform called Spectra that uses artificial intelligence to sift through the massive amounts of data they collect
Right.
and automatically detect changes.
So Spectra is like their secret weapon,
You could say that, yeah.
helping them make sense of all those images.
Exactly. It can identify things like new construction, vehicle movements, or even subtle environmental shifts.
Wow.
It's not just about taking pictures, it's about extracting meaningful insights from them.
And that's what clients are paying for those insights.
Exactly.
No wonder they snagged that $290 million Luno A award
Ah.
from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
That contract really put BlackSky on the map,
Yeah.
demonstrating the value of their technology for government applications.
Okay, so we've got speed, we've got AI, and now let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Gen 3.
Gen 3.
These new satellites are a big deal, right?
Absolutely. Gen 3 represents a significant leap forward in terms of capability.
Okay.
Think higher resolution, faster data downlinks, and the potential for optical intersatellite links, or OISL.
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 That sounds like something straight out of Star Trek.
It's pretty futuristic.
Yeah.
Imagine satellites communicating with each other via lasers, instantly relaying data across the network. This would enable near instantaneous imagery from anywhere on Earth, reducing latency to minutes or even seconds.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But let's back up a bit. What kind of resolution are we talking about with Gen 3?
Their Gen 3 satellites boast an impressive 35-centimeter resolution.
Okay.
That's significantly sharper than their previous generation and allows for much more detailed analysis.
So they'll be able to see even smaller objects
Yeah.
and detect even subtler change.
That's right.
What does that mean for their clients?
It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay.
Imagine being able to track individual vehicles, monitor the health of crops with incredible precision, or even detect early signs of infrastructure damage.
The applications seem endless.
For sure.
But are investors excited about Gen 3?
Well, there have been some concerns raised during their recent earnings call, mainly about costs and revenue predictability.
Okay.
Some analysts are worried about the increased expense of operating a more complex constellation like Gen 3.
That's understandable. More technology usually means more money, right?
Right. But BlackSky has reassured investors that Gen 3 is designed to leverage their existing ground network and AI infrastructure.
Okay.
This means they won't be starting from scratch, which should help control costs as they scale up.
Okay, so they're being smart about how they implement Gen 3.
Yeah,
What about the revenue concerns?
sure.
We talked about revenue lumpiness earlier, but what does that actually mean for BlackSky?
A lot of their revenue comes from large project-based contracts, especially with government agencies.
Okay.
This can lead to fluctuations in their income stream as projects start and finish.
So it's hard to predict exactly how much money they'll be bringing in each quarter.
That's right, and that can make some investors nervous.
Sure.
However, BlackSky is actively working to increase their recurring revenue through subscription-based services.
Ah, subscriptions. That's the holy grail for a lot of companies these days, isn't it?
It is.
Steady, predictable income.
Exactly. And with Gen 3 coming online, they'll be able to offer even more compelling subscription packages with higher resolution imagery and faster delivery times.
So the potential is there for BlackSky to smooth out those revenue bumps and attract more long-term investors.
That's the hope. And to further alleviate investor concerns, BlackSky has made it clear that their Gen 2 satellites will continue operating alongside Gen 3 for several years.
Okay.
This ensures a smooth transition and avoids any sudden decommissioning costs.
So they're not just flipping a switch and abandoning their existing technology.
Right,
It's
yes.
a gradual process.
Precisely, they're being strategic about their rollout to minimize disruption and maximize the return on their investments.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of BlackSky's business model, their competitive advantages,
Right.
and the excitement surrounding Gen 3.
Sure.
But there's another intriguing aspect of BlackSky that we haven't even touched on yet. Non-Earth imaging, or NEI.
Ah, yes. This is where BlackSky is taking our expertise beyond simply observing our planet.
So they're not just looking down at Earth anymore.
That's right.
Where are they pointing those satellites?
They're using their existing constellation to track objects in space, a rapidly growing area of concern for governments and commercial space operators alike.
Wait, so they can track other satellites?
Yes.
What's the purpose of that?
It's all about space domain awareness, or SDA.
Okay.
As space becomes more crowded with satellites and debris, the risk of collisions and other incidents increases.
Right.
BlackSky's NEI capabilities allow them to monitor these objects, providing valuable data for collision avoidance and space traffic management.
So it's like air traffic control, but for space.
Exactly. And this is a market with tremendous growth potential.
Okay.
BlackSky has already secured several seven-figure contracts for NEI services,
Wow.
including a partnership with HEO, an Australian space company.
It sounds like they're positioning themselves as leaders in this emerging field.
Absolutely. And their existing infrastructure and expertise give them a significant advantage. They're not starting from scratch. They're simply applying their technology in a new and innovative way.
Speaking of partnerships, BlackSky seems to be collaborating with a lot of other companies. Is that a key part of their strategy?
It is. They're not trying to do everything themselves.
Okay.
They're forming strategic partnerships to expand their reach, access new markets, and leverage complementary technologies.
There's a win-win for everyone involved.
Exactly. And it speaks to BlackSky's agility and willingness to adapt to the rapidly evolving space industry.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah,
BlackSky is clearly a company with big ambitions,
they are.
cutting-edge technology, and a growing presence in the space industry.
For sure.
But the big question for investors is whether all of this translates into financial success.
That is the million-dollar question.
Let's dive into their financials next and see if we can find some answers.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack there, especially considering the recent stock offering and the potential for dilution. All right, we'll tackle that after a quick break. Stay tuned. Stock Explorers will be right back.
Sounds good.
All right, before the break, we were starting to get into BlackSky's financial picture, and I know you're particularly interested in whether their impressive growth and these new contracts can actually lead to profitability.
It's the question on every investor's mind, right?
It is.
To get a clear picture, we need to dig into their financial statement.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What does their revenue growth look like?
BlackSky has been showing positive year-over-year revenue growth, which is encouraging.
That's a good sign. But as we discussed earlier, their revenue can be a bit lumpy due to the nature of their project-based contracts.
Right, and that lumpiness was evident in their Q3 2024 results.
Okay.
Revenue came in a bit lower than expected, primarily due to the timing of certain government contracts.
But some investors might see that as a red flag.
It's understandable to have some concerns, but it's important to note that BlackSky reaffirmed its full-year 2024 revenue guidance.
So they're still confident in their ability to hit their targets, despite the Q3 softness.
Exactly. They've indicated that the timing of those contracts is just a matter of when, not if, the revenue will be recognized.
Okay, that makes sense. But revenue is only part of the story. What about profitability? Are they actually making money?
They reported positive adjusted EBITDA for Q3 2024, which suggests they're moving in the right direction.
Okay, so they're not just burning through cash.
Right.
They're generating some positive cash flow from their operations.
Right, and that's a good sign, but it's important to understand what adjusted EBITDA means and what it doesn't tell us.
You mentioned it's a non-GAAP measure. Can you unpack that for me? What's the difference between adjusted EBITDA and their actual net income?
Adjusted EBITDA excludes certain expenses that are considered non-cash or one-time in nature,
Okay.
things like stock-based compensation, depreciation, and amortization.
So it's a way to look at their core operating performance
Mm.
without the noise of those accounting adjustments.
Exactly. It gives investors a better sense of how much cash the business is generating from its day-to-day operations.
Okay.
However, it's not the whole picture.
So if we look at their GAAP net income, are they profitable?
Not yet. They're still reporting net losses on a GAAP basis, meaning their expenses are exceeding their revenue.
Okay, so they still have work to do to reach sustained profitability, but positive adjusted EBITDA is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, it shows they're making progress, and as they scale their operations and increase their recurring revenue, those losses should narrow.
And that's where Gen 3 comes in, right?
Yeah.
Their new constellation is expected to boost their revenue and potentially improve their margins.
Right, the higher resolution imagery and faster data downlinks of Gen 3 should attract more customers and allow them to command higher prices for their services.
So it's a key part of their path to profitability.
Exactly. But as we discussed earlier, Gen 3 also comes with upfront costs.
Right.
And to fund those investments, BlackSky recently issued more stock.
Right, that stock offering raised some eyebrows. Some investors worry about dilution, meaning their existing shares could become less valuable.
Dilution is a valid concern whenever a company issues new shares. However, in BlackSky's case, the stock offering was specifically to fund the development and deployment of Gen 3.
So they're essentially using the proceeds to invest in their future growth.
Exactly. And if Gen 3 delivers on its promises, the long-term value creation could far outweigh the short-term dilution.
It's a calculated risk, but one that BlackSky seems confident will pay off.
It's a bet on the future of space-based intelligence and one that many investors are willing to take.
Okay, so we've got a company with impressive revenue growth, positive adjusted EBITDA, and a bold plan for future expansion. But they're not profitable yet, and there's always the risk that their investments won't pan out as expected.
That's the inherent uncertainty of investing in a high-growth technology-driven company like BlackSky.
And speaking of technology, let's talk more about those optical intersatellite links, or OISL. You mentioned earlier that Gen 3 is laying the groundwork for this game-changing technology.
It's one of the most exciting aspects of Gen 3.
Yeah.
OISL has the potential to revolutionize how we collect and use data from space.
You mentioned it's like an information superhighway in space.
Yeah.
But can you give me a concrete example of how this technology could be used in a real-world scenario?
Imagine a humanitarian crisis unfolding in a remote part of the world.
Okay.
A natural disaster strikes or conflict erupts, and access to the affected area is limited.
A situation where every minute counts.
Exactly. A BlackSky satellite, equipped with OISL, captures imagery of the disaster zone, showing the extent of the damage, blocked roads, and areas where people are in need of assistance.
This is information that relief organizations desperately need to coordinate their efforts.
Right, and instead of waiting hours for the satellite to pass over a ground station to download the data, OISL allows that information to be relayed instantly to other satellites in the network.
So it's like a chain reaction of data transfer happening in space.
Precisely, and once that data reaches a ground station, it can be disseminated to aid organizations on the ground within minutes.
So they can get the help they need much faster, potentially saving lives.
That's the power of OISL. It drastically reduces the latency in data delivery, making real-time situational awareness a reality.
Okay, I'm starting to grasp the significance of this technology. It's not just about cool lasers in space, it's about making a real difference in the world.
And that's what makes BlackSky so compelling. They're not just building a business, they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with space-based technology.
All right, so we've covered their financials, their ambitious technology roadmap, and their potential impact on everything from disaster response to national security. But there's another aspect of BlackSky's business that we haven't explored yet, their move into non-Earth imaging and space domain awareness.
Ah, yes, this is where things get really interesting. They're leveraging their existing constellation to track objects in space, a rapidly growing market with significant implications for both government and commercial space operations.
So they're essentially keeping an eye on all the stuff orbiting our planet.
Exactly, thanks. Satellites, debris, rocket bodies, anything that could pose a potential threat.
And why is that so important?
Well, as space becomes more congested, the risk of collisions and other incidents increases. It's like a cosmic traffic jam up there.
And just like on Earth, we need some kind of traffic management system to avoid accidents.
Precisely. And that's where BlackSky's NEI capabilities come in.
Okay.
They can track these objects, predict their trajectories, and provide valuable data for collision avoidance and space traffic management.
So they're playing a crucial role in ensuring the safety and sustainability of space operations.
Absolutely. And it's a market with tremendous growth. Potential governments and commercial space operators are increasingly recognizing the importance of space domain awareness.
And BlackSky is well positioned to capitalize on this trend.
They have the technology, the expertise, and the existing infrastructure to be a leader in this field.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from BlackSky's financial performance to their cutting-edge technology and their move into new markets. But before we wrap up, I'd love to get your overall assessment of BlackSky as an investment opportunity.
That's a big question and one that requires careful consideration.
Let's explore that further after a quick break. We'll be right back with our final thoughts on BlackSky and what the future might hold for this innovative company. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Stock Explorers as we wrap up our deep dive into BlackSky. I'm curious to hear your overall take on their investment potential.
Yeah, it's a complex picture. I think there's a lot to like about BlackSky.
Okay.
They're operating in a high-growth industry. They have innovative technology, and they're securing significant contracts, but they're also facing challenges,
Right.
like achieving sustained profitability and managing the risks associated with their ambitious growth plans.
So it's a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario.
Exactly. For investors who are comfortable with a bit of volatility and have a long-term investment horizon, BlackSky could be an intriguing opportunity.
But it's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. It requires a certain level of risk tolerance and a belief in BlackSky's ability to execute on their vision.
Okay, so let's say I'm an investor who's intrigued by BlackSky. What are the key things I should be watching for in the coming months and years?
Well, first and foremost, I'd keep an eye on their progress toward profitability.
Okay,
Are they able to scale their revenue faster than their expenses?
right.
Are they successfully transitioning to a more recurring revenue model with their subscription services? These are crucial indicators of their long-term financial health.
It's not just about growth, it's about profitable growth.
Exactly. Growth without profitability is ultimately unsustainable.
Right.
Second, I'd watch how they manage the rollout of Gen 3.
Okay.
Are they staying on schedule? Are they able to control costs? Are they securing those high-value contracts that will justify the investment?
Gen 3 is their big bet on the future, so its success is crucial.
Absolutely. And finally, I'd pay attention to how they navigate the evolving regulatory and geopolitical landscape,
Yeah.
The space industry is becoming increasingly competitive and complex, with governments and private companies vying for dominance.
So BlackSky needs to be agile and adaptable to thrive in this environment.
They need to stay ahead of the curve, technologically build strong partnerships, and maintain a keen understanding of the political and regulatory forces at play.
It's a tall order, but they seem up for the challenge.
They've demonstrated a willingness to innovate and adapt, which are essential qualities in this rapidly changing industry.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored BlackSky's technology, their financials, their competitive landscape, and their long-term potential.
Hopefully given our listeners a lot to think about.
Absolutely. And I think we've achieved our goal of extracting some of those golden nuggets of insight from all of this material,
I think so.
and hopefully giving you a much deeper understanding of this fascinating company.
It's a company with a bold vision, and it'll be interesting to see how their story unfolds in the years to come.
One thing's for sure, the future of space-based intelligence is bright, and BlackSky is right there in the leading edge.
It's an exciting time to be watching this industry, and we'll be following BlackSky's progress closely.
We'll make sure to revisit this in a future episode as their story develops. But for now, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us, Stock Explorers.
And as always, keep